Good evening, everyone. We are going to call the City Commission Workshop for Monday, February 8th, 2021 to order. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Vila Vasquez.
Present.
Commissioner King.
Here.
Commissioner McCool.
Here.
Commissioner Ramos.
Present.
Commissioner Sosa.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bradford.
Here.
Mayor Hersberg.
Here. And now may we all please stand for the pledge to the flag. Commissioner King, would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, welcome everyone. Those of you here in person, watching online, and watching on DTV. We should be live. We are going to have 2 orders of business for our workshop today. The first item is a discussion on ecotourism, and the second will be a discussion on the Deltona's vision statement and strategic plan. So we're going to begin with ecotourism with Mr. Jerry Mays.
Hi. So, yeah, that's something we need. There we go. Ready? Ready. I'm Petey Potamus. I want to introduce you to economic development in the city of Deltona. Deltona has made great strides in the last few years, developing an industrial park with our first large investor, Amazon. Deltona has also had lots of growth in the area of medical service, with our crowning jewel being the Halifax Health University of Florida Hospital. We've made great strides in ecological tourism. Our city commission said they wanted Deltona to be a destination. To be a destination, you have to be able to offer experiences. That's to both the residents and to our visitors. Well, we're here tonight to show and tell what we've done, what we're doing, and what we are going to do. That reads past, present, future.
Welcome to FloridaEcoParks.com, the website for the City of Deltona's Department of Ecological Tourism Sustainability, which is aligned with the city's business website, DeltonaMeansBusiness.com. We'll be discussing upcoming and current ecological nature-themed park projects. That is, parks dedicated primarily as nature experiences with minimal man-made impact. Over the past few years, the City of Deltona has focused on the development of nature-themed parks and extensive walking and bicycle trails. These assist in the emotional and physical well-being of our citizens. Safe outdoor activities. Parks and recreation facilities provide opportunities for physical activity and can help people of all ages lead a more active lifestyle. People who live near parks are more likely to be active, improving their quality of life. Research documents the most effective way to improve the design, quality, and availability of parks and recreational resources. Making eco-parks accessible in our community is a critical strategy for increasing physical activity and economic growth. The added benefit of ecological parks is that they are a perfect remedy for social distancing for COVID-19.
The Wildlife Viewing and Nature Tourism Academy approached the city of Deltona to participate in its national meeting that was held in Florida in 2020. Deltona was the only municipal government participating in the academy, which is sponsored by the Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies. This is in recognition of the significant strides the city has made to develop and connect its residents to nature. The Academy has asked the City of Deltona to share its story at the next annual Academy event in 2022.
The neighboring cities of Sanford and DeBerry Plus, West Volusia Tourism are working with Deltona staff to cooperatively market and share our collective natural assets. Well, taken together, these three cities form a region with exceptional outdoor recreational assets. Moving forward, this three-city partnership will continue to cooperatively enhance our complementary efforts.
The City of Deltona had a featured article in an edition of the Florida Fish and Wildlife publication called Catch a Wild Tourist. This article outlined the city's overarching goal of creating passive outdoor nature parks within a city often associated with suburbanization.
The City of Deltona has been published. We have The Birds of Audubon Park by Harry Robinson. We are Monarch City, USA. We publicize this program through recognition, such as signs and publicity.
We have many unsolicited articles in the Daytona Beach News Journal, The Beacon, the Hometown News, and other publications. People love what we're doing. And we are working together with many of our other partners, the St. Johns River to Sea Loop Association, Volusia County Parks and Recreation Department, Florida Department of Economic Opportunities Department of Greenways and Trails, the Community of Enterprise, West Volusia Tourism, St. Johns River Water Management District, Halifax Health, and with the local chambers cooperating with their wellness programs. Deltona is an official trail town, as designated by the Florida Department of Greenways and Trails with the Lakeshore Trailhead. Hey Jerry, tell us more about the Lakeshore Eco Village.
Thanks, Lee, and hello, everyone. I'll be happy to share more about Lakeshore Eco Village. The development of the Lakeshore Eco Village is a city project to develop the property currently owned by the City of Deltona. An old Florida look will add to the early Florida ambience of the planned mini houses and treehouse lodging. Now, this lodging and the cafe will be available to the public. The existing craft building can be rejuvenated and leased to a bicycle shop. Discussions are underway on that part of it already. The Little Red Schoolhouse will be the informational and educational facility serving the trail system and our eco parks. Included will be the paving of the site's parking lot to provide better designation of parking, enhance traffic flows, and resolve the issue of the rain-washed debris onto Lakeshore Loop Trail and Lakeshore Drive. Our goals are to provide nature-based ecotourism for residents and visitors, preserve and enhance desirable site features and views, capitalize on the Lake Monroe frontage, connect to and promote regional and local trail systems and parks. All this is based upon what we want to do. Now, let's look at what we have to work with. We have the Little Red Schoolhouse, the craft building, the community center, a boat ramp, 2 100-foot piers, and approximately 40 unpaved parking spaces. Now, let's talk about some of the upcoming projects and what Deltona currently has to offer. Upcoming ecological, nature-themed projects also include Ephemeral Lakes Nature Viewing Park, which will offer an expansive water features and open viewing areas, trails, parking benches, and an observation point. Hidden Lakes Nature Viewing Park, which expands the nature theme offerings with bridges, raised boardwalks, and great overlooks. We also plan on building and installing bat houses and martin houses. The Parks and Rec Department is requesting 2 additional Parks and Rec staff members. The upkeep and maintenance of nature parks is minimal.
The Butler Chain of Lakes Blueway Trail. The goals for Lake Butler are to improve the current landings, build new landings, causeways and portages, improve linkage canals, develop rest areas, and provide wayfinding informational signage in the lakes themselves. The Eco Park wayfinding signage is underway with newly branded signs being placed throughout the city to help residents and visitors to discover Deltona. This branding effort will have a great effect upon the city, its residents, and our visitors, not only on the roads, but also online with the launch of FloridaEcoParks.com, the official nature parks website for the city of Deltona, which includes an interactive map, details, pictures, directions, and information on Deltona Eco Parks. Currently open to the public, we have the Audubon Nature Viewing Park, Lyonia Preserve Nature Viewing Park, Thornby Here Nature Viewing Park, McGarity Nature Viewing Site, Lake Butler Nature Viewing Park, Three Island Lake Nature Viewing Park, and Blue Heron Nature Viewing Park Phase 1.
Approved Eco Grant plans right now are for Blue Heron Nature Park Phase 2 and for the Rookery Nature Park development. We also want to start a discussion with Florida Power and Light for development of a multi-use trail.
Now, we'll ask Jerry the Owl to finish up and tell us more about what we are doing to spread the word. Have you seen the new Discover Deltona app?
Yes, it's awesome.
It makes it easy to find all of the nature parks.
Let's go for a bike ride.
Discover Deltona. Deltona is quickly becoming one of the most ecological cities in the United States, hosting a variety of nature-themed parks, blueways, and trails. The city of Deltona is happy to announce our new app titled Discover Deltona, which makes it fun and easy for residents and visitors to find our beautiful nature-themed parks and trails. Discover Deltona Eco Parks. Now available on Google Play and the App Store. The progressive web application may be accessed online at discoverdeltona.com, bringing a native app-like user experience to cross-platform. Visitors will be able to find parks, get directions, see photographs, and read more information about each location. We can place articles within the app for users to enjoy and easily share with family and friends. These articles will also help with search engine optimization. App users can also bookmark their favorite article or part for quick access in the My Spots section. In the Local Tips section, you'll be able to see photographs, video, and/or text submitted by park visitors, all of which is moderated. The Find a Nature Park section allows users to view our main website for Deltona Ecological Parks at FloridaEcoParks.com, all while they remain within the app itself. FloridaEcoParks.com also includes a custom interactive map and directions to each park. This is a fully functional website, not a web application. Users will also have the ability to send us emails and recommend the application to others. The Discover Deltona application may be used on any smartphone, tablet, laptop, desktop. Some of the key functions of this application are push notifications, geofencing, and analytics. With push notification, we can send out messages to our app users at any time. How about an outdoor scavenger hunt? We can customize our geolocation perimeters to automatically greet visitors when they are within range. Welcome to Thornby Nature Park. And with analytics, we can see our progress. Looks like almost 18,000 people have viewed Thornby Park on Google over the past 30 days. Visitors are sharing photographs and reviews every single day. So we make use of this. We place articles and links directly on Google, driving that traffic and those visitors to our EcoParks application and websites. This is what it looks like to the public. And here's one of our articles, easily shareable, and again, helping us with SEOs, beating the Google algorithm. We're now able to see much information about our visitors, where they are from, what search terms they use to find us. We can even see this information in real time. We're able to understand the demographics, interests, language, location, and behavior of visitors, which helps us to better serve the public, improving the quality of life within and around the city of Deltona. Discover Deltona. Discover Deltona nature parks and trails. Install the app and explore Deltona.
Hi, I'm Petey Potamus.
Don't let Jerry touch the button. Thank you for bearing with us. We know it is a long video. In fact, what it is two totally separate videos that were put together to bring you as far as we could up to date this evening on what we're doing in the ecotourism and ecological parks and trails area. I'd like to take a moment and introduce David Winteros. David puts all this together, and as Lee said so eloquently, he took us from the Flintstones to the Jetsons almost overnight.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure being here, and there's a lot of great opportunities with the eco parks and ecotourism here in Deltona, and I look forward to doing more with you.
Thank you. Lee, stick your head out of the door. Ryan, hopefully will be, there's Lee. Remember he was the tiger, you know, that did that number, okay. Questions?
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner, yes, sir.
if I may interject here, this is only the beginning. We have had conversation with David about doing some more apps for us, including one for Parks and Recreation, an economic development app. The economic development app, the way I visualize it and what we've been talking about was if you are interested in coming to Deltona and you're looking for 5,000 square feet that you can do a certain thing, it will show you the available property to have sewer and what have you. So it would actually be a good exercise for us because as we produce it and put the data with it, we'll be able to see which parcels need to have sewer and water to be viable and that type of thing. So sometimes if we discovered in putting this app together, sometimes in the process of putting the app together, we learn things and we're able to address them for the future. So David, I'm really excited to have David as part of our team. He's obviously very talented, but we also will have the capability of doing some other things that will be good for us. The other thing I want to note is David is the gentleman that when we had the trucks that were going down Normandy, we asked Amazon to fix it. David fixed it. And so, you know, just the cost and signage that we would have had to do, the enforcement we would have had to done. So we not only beat Amazon in terms of getting finished first, we outdid them in terms of fixing the traffic situation. So we're 2 ahead of Amazon right now, so thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Ramos and Commissioner McCool and Commissioner Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, congratulations, guys. I mean, the work is awesome. I know I got a preview of it over at our TDC meeting, and they loved it. And I think the more we put this out there, the better it's going to be. I just have one question. Are those directional signs we're going to be using?
Yes, that is one of the signs that will be up on pole, along with all others. They start from I-4 or State Road 415. That would be one that's inside. In other words, the Welcome to Deltona Trails and Eco Parks. That one then would be further in. You go down another 1.5 miles or whatever the distance is, and it splits. This park is that way, go straight for this one. These two are this direction. And it takes them all the way to the park.
I love them.
Advertising all over for what Deltona is becoming.
I love them, and I'm going to use your word about advertising, and that's going to be my only comment. It would be nice to have our city logo on that, just for purposes of advertising. Yes, they're in the city of Deltona, but the more they can see that logo, I just think that would just be my suggestion, but I think they're great. They look great.
The logo will be placed above the sign.
Perfect.
On the pole.
Everybody has it covered. Commissioner McCool.
Jerry and David, fantastic. And thank you also for the preview. I loved it. I love everything about this. I love the direction that this takes our city, because in thinking about the relationship between our city and, you know, DeBerry and DeLand, our side-by-side sisters, and thinking about us being in the middle and becoming an anchor instead of just an afterthought as far as ecotourism and development goes. And I love the signs also. And I just wanted to, the map with the parks, was the Blueway Trail on the app also on the, no? Okay.
The Blueways Trail will be on a separate app altogether. We'll have separate signs, and we'll have a separate flyer. I believe most of you have at one time or another been handed one of our green flyers showing here's our parks, here's our, you know, the trails and everything on that. So we will have a separate one for that. Right now, the Butler chain of lakes is, call it halfway done. We have about 8 miles of the lake available at this point. We still have to get the signs developed, the signs in the lakes. These are the things that bring the people to it, and then we do the wayfinding signs, getting them to the landings. And then we start pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. We've been developing, as you know, eco parks for several years now, but we're now at the point we have a product that we want to start advertising.
Beautiful. And for me, I don't bike, I walk a lot. How far down, if we're looking at the Lakeshore complex here, how far up does the bike trail go, like towards? How, it keeps going. Right, okay.
Osteen, and you can pass Osteen with the new extension. You can make it all the way to Holly Hill, all the way to the beach.
And what about the other way, the opposite way? How far down Lakeshore does it go that way?
That way you can go into DeBerry, and then in DeBerry you can join the extension that takes you up to DeLand as well.
Okay. All right. And just last comment, I don't know if it's for Jerry or for Mr. Peters or who it is for. I love this, and I want, when people are coming down the highway, to see these and to see what we're about. I would also ask that we do whatever we can to do to make these signs at our exits as as warm and welcoming as possible. And that means some closer attention maybe to the trash pickup on our, and I'm, not to beat a dead horse, but on and off our exits. And Jerry, I know that you know people, right? And I know that I've been working with people over at FDOT and our services, but we have a serious issue with that. And if we're going to be eco, it's really the juxtaposition in my mind of seeing trash at the same exit where this is very off-putting to me. So I just ask that it become really top priority to us as we market ourselves this way to be very, very on top of that, because it all goes together, you know, the optics, the visual. We have a fantastic product, but I don't want people to bypass us by seeing that sign and then seeing litter, you know what I mean, on our exits. And if we're going to be green and eco, let's take it all of the way. Let's not do this halfway. Let's make that top priority also, so that when people see our city, this is what they see. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Vasquez, and then Vice Mayor and Commissioner Sosa.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, today I participated in a League of Cities webinar, and there were 3 cities that were part of the session, and one of them was Tavares. And they spoke about a city that people used to pass by to get from one end to the other, but now is a city that people stop in to take in what it has become. And I think I see, you know, after watching this, I think I see Deltona. Actually, I don't think I see Deltona being like Tavares without, you know, of course they have this beautiful water and we have the beautiful lake. And I know that during the conversation for the 25th anniversary last year, we spoke about the possibility of having the taxi boat, is it? Mm-hmm. That they used to exist at one time, I believe, that came from Deltona out to Sanford. I think, I'm hoping that you're still looking into that possibility.
Yes, ma'am. The new economic developer for the city of Sanford, replacing Bob Turk, who was always a close friend to both me and to the city of Deltona, is Tom Tomberlin, who used to work for the city of Deltona. Tom is very interested in that, keeping in mind, too, Deltona and Sanford are sister cities by resolution.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, we need to reach out across the water and renew that.
Yes.
And start these discussions back again. It was Sanford who, about 3 years ago, had a project done by Neil Schaefer on transportation. And one of the things that the city of Sanford made sure was in there was the potential of the water taxi connecting our cities.
The other, what made Tavares famous was the water planes. Mm-hmm. And they started, I think it was one person who used to drive his water plane into Tavares. Mm-hmm. Now it's one of the biggest city that people go to experience, you know, taking trips on these water planes. And we have the water, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that we probably gonna be like them, but it made them what they are today, so. And it's really beautiful. I was watching, you know, on the webinar that they were showing. The other question I wanted to ask you is, the plans are still going to be for the Little Red Schoolhouse to become a museum with the articles of, you know, what we had for the 25th anniversary?
Commissioner, I can't answer that question. I'm not dealing with the historical, the heritage side of that. I know it had been discussed. It was always planned. As far as I know, it is still planned. It will be a heritage center for the city of Deltona, maybe sharing with other locations in Deltona that heritage, not just all in one place. But for our side, we're also looking at it as the information center where people can come in, be educated in what we're doing in the city on the ecological side, about our world-class trails that we have in the city, and the plans that we're doing, and how to get from one eco park to another one. And that will be like the Q code and the other items like that in the application that David developed.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to make a real quick comment. I was out there with, I was going to say Pastor Lowry, Representative Lowry, and he just made a comment that that bat house is facing the wrong way. Because you mentioned the bat house on the video. But thank you so much. You guys did a great job. Love it.
Thank you, ma'am.
If
Vice
we
Mayor.
were on, what was that show where they do the talents? America's Got Talent? If we were on that show today, you guys would get the golden ticket.
All right.
I love it. A great job. I love to see us out there promoting what we have and showcasing it and doing it with style. So I feel that we're actually in a place where we're not following and we're leading. And as the largest city in Deltona, that is something we've all been up here preaching is we need to be the leaders. We need to be leaders. And, you know, again, y'all got the golden ticket on that. Couple things that I think of when I see the tree house, and I know I had kind of expressed concerns about that before, is liability. Who's going to be taking care of that? Is our realtor? I mean, where are we at with that? And going down to Commissioner McCool's comment about keeping it clean, do we have an adopt a road area that maybe we can start doing the adopt the roads? Are they being utilized to the full extent to maybe work? Because I know I kind of went around even in my district and went through a couple new, without throwing names out there, new businesses, and I was like, oh, Lord, does this trash need picked up? So maybe an adopt a street, again, going with that whole concept. I don't know if we have it yet or not, but maybe that's something we could do.
Vice Mayor, I think it's a great idea. We had the application that is in Parks and Rec for that program already.
Okay.
As you go throughout the city, you'll occasionally see this street adopted by this family or this business. So it is in place. Following what you said, maybe we need to advertise that a little bit too.
Yeah, a little bit more promotion on it, because like I said, I didn't even know we had it. So yeah, maybe we can talk about that strategically later. But again, go back to the tree village. Where are we at on that, and what have we, I mean, are we still total discussion, just an idea on the wall?
I'll take the question. Let me just kind of give you a step-by-step approach. Out on the Lakeshore area, I'm sure most of you are aware, we are in the process of bidding right now for the river withdrawal project. That is a $10 to $11 million project that's going to have a pretty dramatic impact on the area where the red school is and all that at this time. The plan is this project will take approximately 18 months to build. So we're going to be working with Jerry and Parks and Rec, putting a plan together for the property so that if we get near the end of that river withdrawal project, that we will come back with some planning workshop to discuss how we want to utilize that property, because there are a multitude of ways of going. As you all know, one of the real challenges at that site is the boat ramp itself. It is really dangerous because the boat ramp is right on Lakeshore. If you're backing a boat into the water, you're tying up Lakeshore. Unfortunately, some people use Lakeshore as a racetrack. We're concerned about safety, so we are going to be looking at that. The other thing that's important to remember is just this last week, you all approved the new purchasing procedures. And one of the key elements in there is how we hire a consultant. So you will be seeing a whole list of consultant contracts coming in, not immediately, but in 30, 45, 60 days that have been delayed using the previous policy. For things such as Rhode Island, the Lakeshore area, things of that nature, and some continuing services contracts such as architects and what have you. So those will be coming forward here soon. So if we go through the capital improvement, if we talk later on strategic planning, the capital improvement discussions are going to start in March and April. So we had that out of the way because that's really a significant part of the budget. And we get that out of the way, and then we can focus on the rest of the budget. So there's going to be a lively 3-4 month period here in discussing the future, what we're going to build and what have you. So that's what we're planning.
Okay, and this would qualify for Eco Grant, I'm assuming, because it is the tourism and parks.
Vice Mayor, I can guarantee you we'll be applying for one.
Okay. Perfect. That's pretty much all I got. I just want to say congratulations, great job.
Commissioner Sosa?
Actually, Mr. Peters answered, a good portion of my question. I was actually going to ask, where we stand on the Lakeshore Community Center as far as the rejuvenation of it. And also, I want to know, you say we want to put a bicycle shop and a restaurant there. Are we going to renovate that property to a vanilla shell, or are you planning on doing a full build-out for whoever comes in? And are you looking to lease it, or how are you planning to do that? And then the other issue I had was the boat ramps. Are we going to provide enough parking for trucks and boat trailers if a lot of people decide to use it when we come to the parking issue?
I will address the first two parts of it, and I will ask Mr. Peters to address the boat ramp. The bicycle shop, at this point, has indicated they are extremely eager to lease the craft building, which will need repairs. Ryan Reckley has been getting figures on that so that we have an idea of what it will cost. The community center is available for use at this time for a cafe to come in. It's got a full kitchen. They may not need to use the entire center, which may mean that part of that building we would be able to utilize at different times for meetings. That will be as it's set up. That's the plan that Mr. Peters was talking about, working through all of this. One of the major things we did want to do, it has always been staff's wish, especially Parks and Rec, is to have a master lessee where the other lessees would lease from them. So we only have one company that we have to deal with. So we're hoping to be able to structure something along that line.
When you do the build-out for these facilities, are you just going to take it to a vanilla shell build-out, or are you going to, what is your actual plan? Are you going to customize it for them or just go vanilla shell?
It will be more or less a vanilla shell as far as that goes. The community center's ready right now. If they come in and they go through their process, the building department, permits, everything, and need to move this wall and move that back here and that type of thing, again, it's a city property, so we had to approve it not just from the permitting side, but also from what the city wants it to be. The craft building, the building in the center, okay, what we're looking to do there is simply the repairs to bring it up to code. After that, they do their own interior. We're not paying for that. That's up to them to do that.
Okay. And how much do you plan on charging per square foot on there?
I have no idea.
No idea, yeah? Okay. All right, thanks.
So we could be 18, 24 months away from that being fulfilled with everything else that's going on down there. Or, in truth, it might be 6 months from now. We'll have a tenant in there doing business, and they'll just exist through the development that goes on. We just don't know how it's going to be at this time. If Mr. Peters...
If I can interject at this point, we will be having a workshop, at least one, maybe even a neighborhood meeting to talk about what we can do at this location. There are a lot of things that can be done, and we need to get the community enthusiasm and support for it. One of the real challenges with this property is parking. The boat ramp, when you add the boat trailers and the vehicle pulling them, typically are about 40 feet long. So it's the equivalent of having 2 parking spaces front to back. So for every truck and trailer, you're using 2 regular parking spaces. And one of the things that, we have been talking internally about is the fact that Volusia County has a boat ramp right down the street, not very far away, that has a lot more road access so that the vehicle can get off of Lakeshore safely, get into the lake. It's actually a superior ramp in terms of the slope of the ramp because it will handle all types of boats. Our ramp, you better have a pretty short boat. So one of the discussions we've been having is the possibility of converting the boat ramp we have now into a kayak canoe type launch. There's a lot of people that like to be able to get out there with the kayaks, and one of the problems you have is when you have motorized boats along with human-powered boats, it's not a good fit. And so we think there's an opportunity to work with Volusia County on a plan where we can mutually coexist in terms of getting watercraft in the lake. Even talking about the possibility of maybe putting an oversized culvert under lake shores to where people can access with their canoes and kayaks from the community center site into the lake rather than having to cross the road and having a potential safety problem. So there's been a lot of sketching, a lot of talking internally, but we all recognize that as I said before, we need community involvement and we need community support and we need direction. And so one of the beauties with the project taking 18 months out there is when we start this process later this summer, we have plenty of time to get designs going, get funding from the county, ECHO, whatever funding state, whatever funding sources we can get, because I think we have a really good opportunity here. You could build a small marina and have people come in by boat and be able to walk over to a restaurant. So, there's not a whole lot of, if you go up and down the St. Johns River in a boat, there's not a whole lot of opportunity to stop and get something to eat. And we think that the market is there to support such a facility. So we're really excited about some of the things we've been talking about, and that will be coming to you all soon.
Good, Commissioner? Commissioner King?
Jerry, I think it's a great plan. I think it's going good. I think the app is nice. It's really good. I think there's probably a lot of people that aren't so much don't have app aptitude. I'm probably one of them. And one of the other things I'll say about that is, my smartphone is so smart that yesterday I just tried to upgrade something that was in there, and it wouldn't even let me do that. So adding another app for me is like, really, it won't fit. I'm gonna have to spend $1,000 on a new phone first. But I'm wondering about other avenues of media, other ways of getting out the information about what we're doing here. Is there any plan or thought of getting with the state, seeing if there's some way we can put signs out on I-4 or other things like that might, just as people are going up the road, these are great, but I'm gonna have to turn into Deltona somewhere to see these. Is there a plan to get something out where people see it that wouldn't normally just turn into Deltona?
Thank you, Commissioner. Let me say, too, when you were talking about your phone, I resemble that remark. Okay, you saw me. Don't let Jerry touch the buttons, okay? Yes, we will be having a discussion with the Southwest Volusia Tourism, hopefully being able to partner with us on a billboard Maybe we'll look at another billboard up and down I-4, something along that line. Again, it's getting the word out. Okay, so there are a lot of ways we can do this. I'm not advocating buying TV time or radio time or that type of thing, but something more permanent out there to get people started. Get them talking, get them spreading the word. So yes, we do have plans along those lines, and thank you.
Mayor, in reference to that, that was one of the reasons why I invited Jerry to go over to the TDC over on the east side, so we can have all those resorts and hotels to have the brochure, so that when people can see that, and they themselves can be helping us market to bring people on this side of town.
Vice Mayor?
To not be the popular one here tonight, but you mentioned something that kind of made my head go, A lot of people do like the canoes, they like the nature, so it makes me go, all right, so if we're really going eco, do we want to make it so we do have boats coming into the dock with gas, airplanes flying with gas? How are people going to foresee that if we're here promoting this wonderful eco-friendly environment, but we're also promoting at the same time, any sort of pollution to the waters? Do you think that's going to be any sort of problem? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there as I'm listening to a conversation. I know we're going to have both sides of it coming up here. I think you do get people, like you were saying, Mr. Peters, that we've got a lot of canoers and that's become a very popular sport recently. And, when you mentioned, not having motorized vehicles there, it does make it a safe environment for them to enter the water. So I think that might be something that we really, really want to consider is, we also have to keep that waterway safe as well.
Agreeably, no one would say that we want to do anything that would be ecologically unfriendly. Looking at the seaplane trade, knowing Tavares pretty well, yes, they are, as they claim to be, the seaplane capital of the country. But that's still 4 and 5 airplanes a day, because most seaplane ports have 1 or 2 flights in, flights out. So it's not a huge amount. Boat traffic is going to be on the St. Johns River as people go pleasure boating. It's going to be. They will go by. The fact that they would stop and tie up and go spend some of their money in Deltona supporting a business in Deltona would be a huzzah. Okay, we're just not, potentially, they would not be buying their gas necessarily. We're not, I don't think, looking at that, so we don't have to worry about that kind of spoilage or spillage, excuse me. And it gives people a chance to, again, spread the word. We need the advertising. Spend some money in our city. Come be a tourist. Or if you live in our city, just enjoy what we have provided for you. And always ecologically friendly.
Yeah, just being devil's advocate, just want to throw that out there to see what you would say. Also, how much of that area are we allowed to develop? How much more of that lakeshore are we allowed to develop? Because I thought we had brought it up before, and we were told that we're kind of restricted with the state. So from where our boat dock is now, are we allowed to expand it, or are we kind of restricted to just this one area? Like we were saying across the river there, they kind of have really expanded, and it's amazing. I mean, people are, it's a destination.
It is that, and we want it to be. As far as how much land we can use there, we can use what we own. A part of that will be into the water intake that takes the water up to what we call the Alexander system further north. And we will be able to have parking and businesses and our information center there. Many of you have visited my office and you've seen it on my dream board up there, and I've talked to Tim Bailey, the head of Parks and Rec for Volusia County, where the county and the city put in a boardwalk trail that goes from the west side of Thornby all the way down to Green Springs and encompasses that area. And this would be another trail that we incorporate into the Lakeshore Loop Trail, which connects to the coast to coast and the St. Johns River to sea loop trail. 300 miles here, 300 miles here, 200 miles there. World-class trails. Some of the finest on God's earth. And they're right here in our city. You take your bike and ride down through that dapple sunlight. By the same time, we're on the River Lakes Historical Nature Trail Road Highway. It's beautiful. It's all there together. I've heard Ryan Reckley say it's the jewel of Deltona. And it is. We need to be proud of it. We need to polish that jewel.
Madam Mayor, I think it's important. We have a lady here in the audience that is Miss Trails. Pat Northey has done more for the trail system that we all enjoy in this area. Jerry, correct. I mean, if you look at the maps, right at 1792 and Dirksen over in DeBerry, it's the intersection of three major trail systems in the state of Florida. And Ms. Northey did a lot of work to make all those happen in Volusia County. And I know in DeBerry, they're finally filling in the missing link to get us over to Lake Beresford in Blue Springs. And in fact, that little missing link is a key element that we're talking to Duke Power with our new franchise agreement, because I drove by a few weeks ago and I noticed that they're putting the trail in the Duke right-of-way. I didn't know that could happen, so I did a little bit of research, and so one of the things we're going to put into the Duke franchise agreement is the allowance of trails within their right-of-way, as long as we stay 25 feet off their poles. So envision you're up on North Normandy, you hop on the trail and you can take the trail all the way over to City Hall and beyond. So it's an exciting time. That would be a trail connection for the northern part of the city to go along with the trail system on the southern part of the city. So we're going to soon be known as the Trail City, I can assure you that, and that's also going to be the Blue Trail that Jerry's talking about. It's a very innovative idea that Mr. Mays had come up with. We've been having some discussions of how we can handle some of the elevation change between the lakes. It's a mini lock system. So you literally will be able to go literally almost from the St. Johns River all the way up to the Lake Windsor area off of Elkham. So it's very exciting times, and it's just a matter of putting it together. So hopefully Ms. Northey doesn't have a problem with water trails instead of paved trails.
Okay, Commissioner McCool, Commissioner Ramos, and then Commissioner Vasquez, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up to get to the next step.
Thank you very much. On the water withdrawal project for Mr. Peters, what does that do to the physical location, just for that, you know what I mean, for that area when we're talking about, or how does that tie in to what we're doing right there, the physical area of Lakeshore?
We will utilize part of the land for that. We have been told that the design, I've seen the design, will enhance the area. It's not going to be an ugly industrial looking site. It will be layered and buffered, and areas that aren't the most beautiful will be pretty well hidden, and it gains us the parking for the parking lot. It gains us the ability that when we do the parking lot, we don't have to tear everything out and put in a big stormwater pond for the stormwater retention, because we can put in a vault there and then pipe that water into the water that's being taken out of the river, and it all goes up to Alexander. So there's a lot of positive things that help ecotourism in that project. And if you want to say eco, we're taking water and we're putting it back into the aquifer.
Yep.
We drink water, we bathe, we cook, we depend on water. And what we're doing here is putting water back in to where, in time, we'll be using that water again and again and again.
If I can jump in, the river withdrawal project is a very important project, not just for Deltona, but for the other water users in West Volusia. Because Alexander Rib site was intended to be a location where we would put the water back into the aquifer. Most of you all probably know that the Blue Springs had two primary issues in their basin management action plan. The first is the level of nitrogen and phosphorus, which is why we have the whole higher grade septic systems or converting over to public sewer. The second element that everybody forgets about quite often is there is a statutory requirement for a minimum flow level in order to protect the environment that the springs feeds, whether it be the manatee, the fish, the St. Johns River. All that ecosystem is based on a certain flow level. In order to be able to take water out of the aquifer for drinking water purposes, we need to put water back in. And the river withdrawal project will allow us to put that water back in the aquifer in many locations, whether it be at the Deltona Golf Course, whether it be at Alexander or other locations. We are also looking at some innovative stormwater treatment that can be put back into the aquifer. Places like Lake Gleason, where the downstream drainage system won't support a certain amount of water, we can put in a surface water treatment facility and put it into the reclaim system and put it into the aquifer that way. So we're looking at a lot of innovative ways of handling the water situation.
Thank you. And I just would be remiss in closing my comments. Again, thank you very much. Jerry, I know how hard you work on this, and I know what a passion you have. Thank you for bringing this, helping bring this to life in Deltona. It's really, really, really good to see this. And I just want to say that I, as a commissioner, for our residents and for people coming to know Deltona and coming to know us better, this is the vision that I would like for Deltona, for me and other people that I've talked to, residents would love Deltona to be known for as we move forward. I think that we have done a lot of progressive, forward thinking on this, thinking about our future. And it doesn't bypass me that we're having strategic planning conversations also. And as this area here, this whole area, that whole Lakeshore Road is bucolic in nature, I would like for us to remember that it's part of a larger picture, and to remember this when we, in our whole city, when we are deciding how we move forward with development, as it goes hand in hand, and how we live harmoniously with development and with what we are setting our city and putting so much time and resources in our city to be known as, that we remember that also. I mean, we do a pretty good job with that, but that area, that road is very, very bucolic, and I just want us to remember that as we move forward. Again, thank you, Jerry, and thank you, David. He might have left already.
Okay, Commissioner Ramos?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Mr. Peters has mentioned, I was just on the board just to see if, through permission through the chair, if we can have the Queen of Trails, because I know she has definitely been a pioneer to all this at the county level, whether or not Pat Northey can say some words in reference to this.
Pat, did you want to speak? Is it Commissioner, is you okay with that? Commissioner Vasquez, you're on the board as the last, are you okay with Pat saying? Okay, just.
Yeah, it just turned on. Thank you, thank you. So tonight, as you start this process for your strategic plan, I would encourage you to look at identify a few BHAGs, and those are big, hairy, audacious goal. One of those BHAGs that is sitting right here in front of you that immediately comes to mind is the work that is being done by Jerry and his staff and the Parks Director on ecotourism. You should continue to invest and increase, if you can, the dollars. I know this is a difficult time for ecotourism. To increase the dollars in the budget, that would be dollars well spent. I chaired the PAC for Volusia Forever and Eco. I think most of you know that. And we won across the county. We won across the county. Every precinct in Volusia County voted for Volusia Forever and Volusia Eco. 76% for Volusia Forever and 74% for Eco. So what is that message? The message is that people who live here in this county, in this city, because everybody here voted, want more of what Eco and Forever provide. So Deltona has done a good job. Jerry's done a good job, and I've been working with Jerry. We've been working on some trails initiatives, and I can tell you he has really been real good to work with, and he's moving forward what I hope will be your ultimate goal. You've done a good job in tapping the Eco and Volusia Forever resources. We have a great park system right here in Deltona. It's both active and passive, and it's been supported much by Eco. Many of these initiatives that you heard tonight have Eco funds. You have a world-class recreation trail system, the coast to coast and river to sea, state trails 1 and 2. Nobody else has any trail system. We have 2 of them that run across the southern border. That's pretty exciting. And by the way, Commissioner Bradford, that trail now will go around DeBary and go to Seminole County. I drove that segment Saturday, and it is incredible. There is going to be a 26-mile loop around Lake Monroe that we're on the north side of. How exciting for us. Those trails are connecting nature-based resources and parks and waterways. So please continue to support both the Parks Department and the efforts of the Economic Development Department in building an economic initiative based on ecotourism. It benefits the residents, and it benefits our tax base. And I'm going to leave you with a quote that Jim Cameron from the Daytona Chamber, I think we all know Jim said, "We are all for economic development, first and foremost, but at the same time, we see economic development and quality of life working hand in hand." So those are some words to think about tonight. I would also tell you that we have a part of being a natural environment is trees. We have tree city designation. Let's make sure we take a look at that, because we're taking down a lot of trees for new development and for private development. We have a tree city designation that comes with some responsibilities by the city. So please take a look at that. And maybe time to bring in an arborist to do a citywide survey and decide how you want to handle your trees. But let's truly be a tree city. And finally, I would be remiss if I just didn't congratulate you all. I don't know who came up with the idea of hiring Marlo, but Herb and I go back many years. We're both gray. Yeah, we're both gray. He is fabulous. You are going to have a wonderful strategic plan. Visit with him, and I wish you the best on that. It's time we do that again. It's been, I think, 5 or 6 years. So congratulations to Jerry and his team. They're doing remarkable work. That was a terrific presentation. Follow that lead, please. We have an opportunity here. We've got a lot of resources going, and I'm proud. I'm proud to be here, and I'm proud to have worked on some projects, and I serve you on your ECHO board. So keep me posted on what you want to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Commissioner Vasquez?
Thank you, Mayor. So I have comments more than probably questions. But, I understand there's going to be a lot of concerns, the changes taking place at Lakeshore Drive, getting boats and stuff or anything out there. But I remember 21 years ago when I moved here, I can count the boats that were in Sanford, docked on Sanford. Now you can't count them. They even have, homes, the boat homes in there. It's beautiful. Sanford is a pearl right now. Then you have, we go on the pontoon to the Blue Springs. And that's a nature trail also, but on the water. And everybody does it being careful of how it's done. And I know that whatever we or, the group does on Lakeshore Drive in that lake, it's going to be done carefully, and everybody's going to be a watchdog to make sure that everybody's doing things properly without damaging or hurting, the environment. So I can understand that. And as far as property, if you're facing the lake, the property on the left, I don't even know if it's still on the market, but that's owned by a private owner. It's already purchased. I know the county was looking at it, but, that was owned by a private person. So there's a beautiful lake in front of us. Let's make it. People say, we can't even see the lake through the trees. They should cut those bushes down, but it's not ours to cut. I understand that. But I'm just saying that it is, and I echo what, Pat Northey said, let's go forward with our plans, because it is a beautiful plan that you guys put together. And I think that everyone is going to love it once they see it all come into place.
Thank you. So just to kind of wrap this up, thank you, Jerry, and thank you to your team, and thank you, Mr. Peters, for actually, from a management perspective, promoting this and bringing this to the forefront, because it kind of was dying on the vine previously. So I also just wanted to make 2 comments. Bat houses, that is so exciting, because whether people know this or not, I've received multiple letters, because we are in a book that goes out to this in the school system, and the kids want to know about bat houses. And so if I can ever get an update on how many we have, and I know we had some out here at City Hall, that would be amazing when those letters come in again, and one of the elementary schools want to know about that too. So just a little tidbit for us to be known all over the country for our bat houses. I also like the way you've addressed the parks and called them nature viewing parks. I think that's I just find that very, very attractive, and it kind of says what it is for a lot of the parks, the passive parks. Commissioner McCool, your comments on the trash on the off-ramps, it's been a continual problem. And I think it's not only the trash situation, I think it is the gateway area to our city. We have 3 I-4 interchanges, 3 gateways that come in, and you come down Doyle, you come up Providence, you come down Saxon and Howland. And Howland makes an impact for sure. But Saxon and Doyle down there to Berry Avenue leave a little to be desired. So I think in our discussions, as long as I've been on this dais, it's been a problem. This commission needs to decide what they want to do to make those gateway entrances more eye-appealing, and that's going to be, you're going to have to pay for it, because to say it's only FDOT or the state that's going to pay for that, other municipalities add some extra, whether it's personnel or someone that you outsource to fix that or to help keep it clean. We may have to go that route, because the reality is what the state provides is not enough. Not enough for the amount of traffic that those 3 interchanges have, and more that's going to come. So that's something that we are going to have to subsidize that if we want a certain vision. And I think what I see here, this is fantastic. I mean, these signs, and that's just, it's so eye-appealing and amazing. So, that's going to be something that we have to look at. And what do we want this city to be in terms of visually appealing? Because unfortunately, some of our entrances and exits are not The only other thing that I had a comment on is the Lakeshore community area. I think it's going to be great, and I agree that once that river withdrawal project, it's like a vault that's going to go there, correct? I think there's a vault that goes in there. Once that's all done, I think we'll see a lot of improvement, and especially with the Little Red Schoolhouse and that whole area over there. Yeah, just keep us apprised. I'm excited. It's a beautiful area, and we can go do nothing but move forward from here. We have so many assets with our lakes. If you look at a map, Commissioner McCool, to your point, look at a map of the city of Deltona and see how much green and blue is really there. A lot. It is amazing. Just even Lyonia here. Look at this huge section around here that's never going to be developed. It's amazing. So thank you, Jerry, and thank you to your team. Yay. Lee always does a great job. He's just so amazing. I don't know how he does that stuff. Oh yeah, what about these t-shirts, Jared? Do you want to say something about them?
Jerry, I'll jump on this one. One of the ideas that we have been putting out there to get people to use the app is to do a scavenger hunt. You will use the app, and if you take a selfie at different locations, not just at each park, but locations within the park to show you actually went in the park. For those people that do it to a certain number, we will have either the t-shirt or a mouse pad with the bird logo on it for those people that complete it. I cheated. I haven't done it, but I have a t-shirt. But I plan personally to earn my t-shirt with the app. It's going to be an exciting time, but we felt like that was a way to get outreach. The other thing that we're talking about doing is outreaching to photography clubs, for instance, a Colonial Photo and Hobby and Harmon Photo. You're welcome for the free advertisement. They, back pre-COVID, would have about twice a month different photography workshops. I plan once COVID is over to reach out to both of them and strongly suggest that, we do some photography programs over here, because if you've ever been down the end of Lemon Bluff Road at that boat launch, first thing in the morning, you will not see a more beautiful sunrise in this area. I just gave away one of my favorite photography locations, but we have some beautiful locations in the city for photographers, for painters, for birders. This is the way we get the word out to the Central Florida community that, Deltona's here, we have some wonderful things, and then, the trail system speaks for itself. But those are the types of outreach that we're going to do. The t-shirt is the first part of it with the scavenger hunt.
And looking at COVID, I mean, this is the perfect time to reinvent ourselves. I mean, this is not going away. So what better way to go ahead and bring nature and bring people here for those outdoor activities. Thank you again, Jerry. Thank you, Mr. Peters. And we'll go ahead and now move on to the second portion. Do we have anybody signed up to speak for the first? Yes. Was there anybody, Liz? Can you hit the mic again, Pat? Sorry.
Oh, geez.
There we go.
Okay, thank you. You're absolutely correct on COVID. When we were doing the campaign, and Jim Deneen, I called Jim, we were talking, and he said to me, Northey, he said, if you had said to me in January 2020, that you were going to run this campaign and that you were going to win, he said, I tell you, you're crazy. This was June, July. He said, you're going to win this. He said, people want the outdoors. They want to be outside. They want to do the things that take them out into nature. So you're absolutely correct. Keep up this good work and move forward. And gosh darn it, use the resources of the county as well, because they've got a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And they sure take them over to the east side. Let's bring some of those resources here. So good luck.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to item B, which is discussion on the Deltona Vision Statement and Strategic Plan. Mr. Peters?
I'm going to turn it over
Sorry,
to...
Camille, are you doing this one?
I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Camille. She'll be taking care of this tonight.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. This is correct. It is about the strategic plan, and we'll be getting to that. But it's also, this workshop is also going to serve as basically our kickoff to the budget process. We've changed the budget process, and the calendar this year is going to be a little bit different. So the charting a new course refers to that change, as well as the fact that we are now revisiting and updating our strategic plan. And since the question was asked, the people responsible for bringing Mr. Marlowe here from Analytica are Deputy Finance Director Mary Lyson and Kyongsong Grant Budget Coordinator. And he's been a great choice. He hasn't been at it very long and has already asked a lot of great questions and had a lot of good information and insights. So I think this will be very nice for us. But as far as the budget goes, I want to just give you a brief update on what the status of the city's general fund is basically now. Also going to update some information that you have seen before, but I think it's good to remember it because a lot of it reflects some of the unique challenges that we have in Deltona, and those might be things that would be addressed in the strategic plan as we go along and figure out what our goals are going to be. This chart probably looks very familiar, and it hasn't changed very much. 5-year average, we still have property taxes as our #1 revenue source, followed by some state revenues, and then other intergovernmental revenues. And as far as where the money goes, that's also about the same. Public safety is where we spend most of our general fund money. I did add something to this chart because I got this question not too long ago, is how much of the expenses, how do those translate into mills? So that's why I put the mills calculation by each one of these categories. Now, obviously, if you add them all up, it's 15.78 mills, and we can't levy more than 10. So we can't levy enough to take care of all the general fund. But if you're looking for an expression of how much millage does it take to run our parks or to do general government, the administrative funds, stuff, that's where this comes from. Uh-oh. Okay. Well, it's not the end, so, all right. Taxable value per residence, once again, compared to most of our similar-sized neighbors, we're at the low end. We're further inland, we're not on the beach like New Smyrna or Ormond Beach, so that tends to translate into lower taxable values. Then this is another graph I'm sure you've seen before. This is total real property taxable value from 2007 to today. And of course, 2007 marked the beginning of the Great Recession. So you can see we reached a peak there in fiscal 08 at $3.77 billion, and then took a pretty steep dive up until fiscal 2012. And we still have not come back to that 2007 level yet. We're about not quite all the way back there. As far as property taxes are concerned, it is the #1 source of revenue that Deltona receives. Breaking that down, though, a little bit by taxable value and taxes actually paid by the city, we have about 7.9% of residential owners that have a zero tax liability last year. 25.7 owed somewhere between 1 penny and $250 for last year. And then 52.2 of all Deltona homeowners, residential property owners, owed anywhere from $0 to $500 in city property tax. And all in all, 81.3% pay anywhere from $0 to $1,000 in property tax. Again, another expression of mills is how much a mill brings into the city, and then what that costs our residents to generate that. So this is based on last year's values, but one mill would bring us about $2.5 million. And if I break that down and what we could buy with that, if we wanted to take that money shopping, you could buy firefighters, contracted deputies, vehicles like pickup trucks, and some of our park exercise stations that we've started putting into our city parks. Meanwhile, it cost each household about $73 and about $27 per person to generate that money. And just to compare that against some other things that people might spend money on, the average American spends $3,500 a year dining out. If you smoke a pack a day, that's going to set you back about $188 a month. That a new smartphone lease that you lease over 18 months will run you about $29 a month. And for the basic video streaming service plan, $8.99 a month. I think another important statistic that I've shown each year is budgeted positions per 1,000 residents. Once again, we are second from the bottom here on this chart. These numbers do include our law enforcement, so I have included our contracted sheriff's deputies as part of this figure. If I removed them from this calculation, then we would have 4.15 budgeted positions, with 3.687 of them currently filled at this point. We've always been very leanly staffed. We had a staffing level back in 2007, again, right before the Great Recession and the big crash, and we have yet to get back there. If I look at budgeted versus filled, we have 385.5 budgeted positions, only 342 currently filled. And here's how budgeted positions look over time. Back here at October 1st, 2007, we were at 395 positions. And we went down as the economy worsened. We've come back from there, but we still are lower than that 2007 level. I also think there's another very important statistic that I wanted to show you. And I think I've mentioned this before, but I don't know if I've ever had it on a pie chart. It's Deltona employees by age group. Mr. Marlowe has met with all of you, and he's met with the department heads and asked about, what do you want to see? What's on your mind? What do you think could be part of the strategic plan? And one thing that I mentioned was I felt that some succession planning was definitely in order. And 41.8% of our employees are 50 and over, and that includes 2/3, or 6 of 9 department heads. So that's the statistical part of Deltona. Just going back to look at how fiscal 2020 wrapped up. I don't know if you felt like this, but I sure did during 2020. Wake up, survive, go to bed, repeat. We had, of course, once the pandemic took hold and all the stay-at-home orders went into effect, it severely damaged our state sales tax revenues and our fuel tax revenues. At the end of the year, this is as of September 30th, 2020, you can see that public service taxes for telecommunications, state revenue sharing took some hits there. There's another large number here, and that's this one, other intergovernmental revenues. That's $3.4 million, but I'm going to point out that that contains the $3.2 million in CARES Act money that we received from Volusia County. So, with all that being said, I started thinking of some different challenges that we face, and some of them are new, and most of them really aren't. COVID, we now have vaccines, so there's a little bit of hope there, but soon we'll be done with masks and social distancing soon. But it's not over. COVID's still around. Lingering economic impacts. The Florida League of Cities just announced that they are releasing a research paper that they predict over the next few years for revenues still to be lower, still affected because of COVID. Of course, some people did very well. They flourished financially during COVID. Other people, it was devastating. They've lost jobs, they've lost businesses. A lot of them have not gone back to work and still need help. We talked about different shapes of recovery last year when I was talking about this, and I never would have thought of anything called a K recovery, but that's what it was. Some people doing great, some people not so much. Our housing market still here in Deltona is still doing very well. In fact, most of the country it's doing very well. And Deltona continues to see an influx of new residents all the time. Even with the COVID pandemic, our building department never slowed down for a second. We issued about 370 certificates of occupancy last year. They were never slowed down for 1 second, always busy. More challenges? Well, I put down fees review because that's a topic that gets discussed a lot. The need to maybe review our fee schedules every so often. We are looking at doing an impact fee review, making sure we stay up to date, cover our costs, stay competitive. We are in the process of refunding both of our utility bonds for Deltona Water. Millage and special assessments, for the most part, are non-ad valorem assessments like stormwater, solid waste, lake cleanup, and of course our millage rate, have remained pretty much the same for the last few years. We've levied 7.85 mills for 4 consecutive years now, and most of our special assessments did not change over the last 2 years. And another topic that we talk about a lot is revenue diversification. Right now, we're still primarily a residential community. Property taxes, we're still 85% residential as of 2020. I get asked a lot, is that going to change because of Amazon? And yes, it will, except that Amazon would not have shown up on the property tax rolls until this January. But we'll probably see a little bit of a tweak in those numbers because of Amazon. And a few more challenges. We are doing a compensation study currently. Again, we have staffing. We have very lean staffing, which is good, but it can also be challenging. During our last year's budget process, there was a lot of talk about vacant positions, employee engagement, succession planning, how to attract and retain talent. What are the good ways of doing that? So because those have been mentioned, I listed those here. And then, of course, strategic plan update, which is the reason why we're here tonight. So that's basically a wrap-up of what general fund is looking like now, what kind of issues we might be facing, and of course, I'm sure you have other ideas as well. And with that, I just want to turn it over to Mr. Herb Marlowe. He's with Analytica, and he's going to be leading us through the strategic plan process.
Thank you, Camille.
He's coming outside.
I'm Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission. Good evening. What's your protocol for masking here? Y'all prefer the speaker to remain masked, or do you care? I at least can see you. My glasses fog continuously with the mask, so I appreciate that. Looking forward to starting this process with you. I've enjoyed hearing the ecotourism discussion because that's clearly part of what this will be about. I've had the opportunity to speak with each of you, speaking with your staff. Tonight, I'd like to discuss with you 4 themes I've heard and get some feedback about that in terms of, did I hear you correctly or incorrectly? Are there other themes, other things we'd like to add? First, let me introduce myself briefly. I'm a 4th-generation Floridian. A great-great-grandfather moved from South Carolina here. At that time in South Carolina, they had a unique penal policy. If you did a sufficiently serious crime, you had a choice. You go to jail or you go to Florida. That's my origin. Distinguished history there. So, but we're, it's been part of a great time here. I live on my family farm in Newberry. We're very near reaching a century farm status. And so if you call me, you may hear my cows in the background. So but I've been doing strategic planning, obviously, for a long time. Started with the Navy, and then I've worked, if you've seen my bio, with a lot of cities and counties in the state, worked with a lot of communities here in Volusia County. Very pleased, years ago, I actually helped develop the original ECO strategic plan that led to, and Pat was part of that. So y'all have really taken it and used it, and I congratulate you on it. It's wonderful to see something from far along start to work out. So what I'd like to do very quickly is kind of review a few things about strategic planning, and then I'd like to begin the discussion with you. My work with you is really a conversation. and it's discussion. It's up to y'all to set the direction and to set the priorities. Staff have to work out the details of how to get there. So it's important that we be able to talk, and we will talk a lot. And I'll go over the schedule with you in a moment. A strategic plan is really a focus on what's the long-term best interest of your city. I'll be asking you that a lot, you know. You'll have different perspectives about that, which is good, because if you all had the same perspective, we'd only need one of you. You know, you're here for a reason. And it's also to focus on what's the desired future identity you want for your city. Your whole ecotourism conversation this evening was about that in many ways. That's part of the identity you want. And what we are really trying to do is set a core agenda. These are the things we need to focus on to get you where you want to go. So that's all this is about. How it's used, it really drives all your other plans. It drives your comp plan, it drives any master plans, it'll drive your CIP, it drives the budget, because you set the priorities and you set the direction. And so this is critical for all the other work that you'll do. It really sets the direction there. To be effective, you've got to have a clear vision, and we'll be working on that. We've got to have good ideas. We've got to have stable leadership at your level and at the organization. And it has to be aligned with what I call the needs, aspirations, and values of your community. If it's not what your residents see as important, as something as they value, it's just not going to happen. So those are the things we'll work on to make sure your plan does that, and you're critical to help me assess that. Here are 4 themes that I'd like to discuss with you tonight. One theme is about public trust and confidence, and I'll go through each of these in more detail in a second. Another is about economic growth and diversification. A third is about community identity, and the last is about efficient and effective government. Public trust and confidence. This is what I call your currency for the future. Everything you want to do here and hope to achieve, the public has to have some high level of trust and confidence that you can do it. You'll be asking them to fund it. You'll be asking them to support it in a variety of ways. So the higher that level of confidence they have, the higher level of trust in you, the more you'll be able to move these things forward. It's clearly got to articulate a direction and why. I'm sure you get asked a lot, why is the city doing this? Why are you doing that? The strategic plan helps you answer that in the sense that we're trying to get to here. We're trying to create this. It answers you the why, which is important to be able to answer for folks. There's some other things here I'm going to skip over, but one thing that really does, y'all use the term transparency a lot, functional transparency. We're a very big state on public records. You can see a lot of stuff in this state compared to other states, but it's often kind of very confusing. If you've ever tried to read a budget book and you don't have a fiscal background, it can be kind of confusing, you know. But what your strategic plan helps you, again, answer that question why. It gives you that basis for saying where we're going. Let me skip over those, and I'm going to skip this slide for the moment. I'd like to talk about economic growth and diversification. Clearly, one of the things y'all talked to me about is Deltona becoming a job center, so it's not such a commuter place. And part of that strategy to encourage and incentivize a service-based economy. And the other major topic y'all talked to me about was ecotourism. And after hearing the conversation tonight, I can understand why you talked about that a lot. Clearly, these are your economic drivers. So I'd like to pause on this one and get some feedback from you in terms of what do you see as important for the economic growth and diversification of the community? What are the themes that you might like to, or areas you'd like to see emphasized here, are not? So, Madam Mayor, if there are any comments any of the commissioners have, I'd be pleased to hear them now.
Okay, commissioners, you want to light up the board if you would like to answer his questions? I see nothing.
Okay. I'll
No
keep
one?
going.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Vice Mayor.
I'll throw it out there.
Sure.
You know, there's, the city's changed a lot over the last 4.5 years that I've been on the dais. And, you know, I think this is something that I discussed with you about previously was how Deltona is no longer that senior community, the bedroom community. And, you know, I've been saying it for years, I want to make sure that we grow the right way. And currently, we have an area that has been deemed downtown, but yet we still don't have I haven't seen it, a plan for that downtown. You know, you go to a lot of cities and they may have their vision board that basically shows, I know, like, even, I'm going to use Port Orange as an example because I recently was doing something there. So, you know, they have certain colors that the buildings have to be. They have the restrictions that they go through. And I just want to make sure that as we're hitting this downtown area that we've never had, we're hitting, you know, an industrial area, that we're doing it in a manner that is also growing with the way we've changed and we've grown, and not based on what we were. Because I believe, and I don't know if you got to that, where our demographics have changed, both by race and age and financial. So I want to make sure we are growing the right way, and we're growing, and the strategic plan is geared around where we are now, not where we were.
Okay.
That is my biggest concern.
All right, thank you. Let me flip to the next slide since you.
Commissioner Ramos wanted to.
Okay,
he was up
Commissioner.
I just wanted to add to that all three points are great. Let's just keep in mind, this is going to be a give and take. Every single one of these bullet points that we want to see succeed, it's going to be a give and take. So we have to be understandable that not everything is just going to come in peaches and roses. Every rose has its thorns, but these are great opportunities that we have to continue with the city.
Okay.
And I just have a comment on that, is that as we go through this strategic planning process, for me, I think that we have to be very realistic as to what we're capable of in this city, and what we have reality-wise, in terms of, it's nice to say, you know, we could be a job center, we can, but the reality is it's going to have to be in a certain segment with the amount of land that we have that's able to be developed and so forth. The last thing that I want to do, because the one thing that we all have heard through any of the things we've done, is that the residents want to have jobs and businesses here. And we have to be realistic about what we're capable of attracting and what we're capable of producing.
Absolutely, fully concur with that. And that's one of the reasons I really like linking strategic plan and the budget, because, you know, you get down to real stuff when, yeah, we want these three things, we have enough money for one, you know, which one do we pick? But yeah, as we go forward, we have to talk frankly among ourselves here. What are your strengths and your gaps and your weaknesses? You know, I was in a small rural city once, primarily an orange packing city, and some consultant had come in and convinced them they could be the next Silicon Valley. You know, and I'm thinking, how do I say to these folks, you know, this is not in the world of reality here. You're not going to be able to be that. So you can be some things, you're not going to be other things. Unless the climate changes, we're never going to be the snow capital of the world, you know. So yeah, you have givens, and we have to work within those realities. We want to push them as much as we can, but we can't ignore them. So, okay. I'd like to spend some time on this theme, because this is the one that I heard a lot tonight. I think this is the one where there's the most diversity of perspective among you. And so I think we're going to be spending a good time talking about this one. And this is a big bucket here. Clearly, you were founded as a retirement community. You moved past that. You still have retirement folks. But you're now a commuter place. And you want to go to be more of a job center destination place. So, you know, this community is changing, and there's a direction that you want to go. And in that sense, it becomes you're a full-service city from a services perspective. You want to be a full activity center city from all those things. You've got a full age of residents now. A lot of children in this community. You are a fairly diverse ethnically community. My understanding, the old census data showed something around the 30% Hispanics. The new data may be more in the 40%, you know. So you're a diverse community. And here's the challenge, and this is a challenge every city in Florida is really facing that's growing and having that, is how do you manage your growth, maintain your community quality of life, and position yourself as the way you want to go. These are hard choices. you know, part of what I'll be asking you is what are the things, how do you want people to describe Deltona? What are the words you want them to use? What words you hope they will not be using? What are the features of this community you really want to protect and keep in the future? What are the features you want to change? Every community I've worked with has certain things they really want to keep. It may be part of their built environment, whether that's history. It may be part of their natural environment. It may be a part of how they're laid out. You know, I have communities that if you start talking two stories, they get upset. You know, they see themselves as a single-story community. Some see themselves as clustered tightly. Others see themselves as space. Some see that diversification and want to protect it. This is the most substantive conversation we're going to have here about this. And so I just want to tell you that up front. I'll be asking questions, and this is the one I think really gets at the core of where you want to go. What's the identity you want, and how are you going to have to balance all those various forces in there? Population growth is a reality here. In the 1970s, Palm Beach County Commission decided they didn't want people to come. And their policy solution was they weren't going to build any roads. In the 1980s, they were building roads as hard as they could lay that asphalt, you know. I live in a small rural community, and we're starting to become a bedroom community for Gainesville, and I'm not happy about it at all. It's not the community I want, but, you know, we're just in the right spot, right location, and we got a 4-lane, and we got lots of land, and it's beautiful, and so it's, you know, those things. So these are the struggles we have, and they're serious struggles. I've been fortunate to work all over the state, and when I've been working in Broward County, I'll ask people what they want and what they don't want, and they'll say, we don't want to be like Miami-Dade. And I go up to Palm Beach, and what do you want or don't want? We don't want to be like Broward. When I get to Martin, they just say, just cut off the entire south of the state and let it float away. We don't want any part of it. So, you know, there are a lot of things we know what we don't want, and we have to figure out how to avoid that. And we also have to figure out what it is we do want and how we're going to get there. So this is, I think, the conversation that's going to be both challenging, thoughtful, and I believe it will be very productive, but I look forward to having it with you. Madam Mayor, anybody have any questions about that one?
Any questions, commissioners? Yes, ma'am.
And we're going to be having more public engagements and meetings as well. I noticed through the brochure we were reading, it spoke about the sessions we had in 2015, but I'm assuming we are going to be having more events like we did then, bringing the residents in, and we're not relying on that 2015, 2016. Mr. Peters?
I'm going to let Mr. Peters answer that one.
Mr. Peters? Are we going to be, Vice Mayor, go ahead.
I said we are going to be having more community sessions like we did in 2015 and 2016, correct? Where we're bringing the community input in and having the visionary board and ask, you know, interacting with the residents on this as well, right? We're not just relying on the 2015, 2016?
Our plan is to have active public involvement throughout the process this year. As I indicated earlier, I plan as part of the capital improvement program to have a very robust discussion. I believe Ms. Camille, Ms. Hooper is planning to do a true-up at the meeting on the 15th, so you know what the status of all of our funds are. So that will be, you know, the next big step. And from that information will lead us into the capital improvement program. I apologize, I was looking up a fact because something he said, it was something I had looked up the other day and it was rather surprising. Statistically, we've been working on the theory that there's 30% rental property. Well, according to national statistics, we actually have 40% rental. That's because we have traditional multifamily that are not counted in my 30% we've been telling you. The other thing of interest is we have about a little over 2,500 residents per square mile. A square mile is 640 people. So we are definitely a suburban community. By comparison, You go over to DeBerry, it's a little over 1,000 residents per square mile. So we have a much higher intensity. The other thing is of interest is average household income in Deltona is $63,000. The poverty level is about 14%. So that kind of gives you an idea of our community if we look at our economic development going forward. So I apologize, I was looking that up so I can make some notes, but.
Right. So I get, we're going to have staff, we're going to be going over the capital improvement, but I guess I just want to definite clear that visioning session that we had was amazing. It was one of the best community input sessions since I've been here. I don't think we've even had one since, in my knowledge. I mean, I don't know, Mayor, if you remember that. It was,
We did
the
that,
room
and I
was
think we did
packed.
another one.
Yeah, that was amazing. We literally had different areas set up that we all rotated to, and I'm going to say we had a great showing to that, you know, and I would love to see us, because it has been quite a few years now, and that we have changed so much. I think it's important that we, as you're saying in here, we get that community input. You know, I think the staff report's great, but that session to me is what helped through the last strategic plan and helped us go through on our growth. And I think it's very necessary for us to do that again this time.
Commissioner Vasquez and then Commissioner McCool.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to agree on the community involvement that we had last time, I was part of it, and it was a lot of ideas came up. Some of them, were done. So the involvement of the community is very important. And there's a phrase that I learned from this webinar that I was a part of this morning, and it says water plus sewer equals economic development. I think that's the most important thing that we have to concentrate here in Deltona, because a lot of people are asking for businesses, they're asking for restaurants. So if we have these businesses coming, and again, I know Saxon Boulevard, most of it is county road, but it's in Deltona. So we have to come together with the county and see how we can make this happen, and we can make our roads and our main streets move-in ready to give our residents what they want. The other thing that I know, and this is something that was brought up in that seminar or that interaction with the community that came up, it's apartments or condos for those people, for those residents who want to downsize. They're at an age they cannot keep up with their homes, but they don't want to leave Deltona because this is their home. They have nothing to go to. Right now, in speaking to a few people that just relocated to the Edgewater condos, they sold their 4-bedroom home and relocated to a 2-bedroom condo. And they were happy to find that one particular place there here in Deltona. So I think that's also something that people have been asking, residents have been asking way, way back. And I think we also need to look into that part.
Okay. So really housing diversification. And clearly the infrastructure that you've got to have to make any of these other things occur.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner McCool?
In discussing our community identity, I want to understand, I don't think I've ever asked a question, I don't know that it's been answered. I understand what growth population projections are for our city, but I want to know how many people can our city handle? Really, I mean, I know not to the, but I'm saying, what are we projected for? How many people do we want based on what our resources are, based on what our public safety is, based on what our roads are? what allotment we get from, county, state, what help. How many people can live in Deltona?
Well, you have your planning director here tonight, and he can answer that technically better than I can. What you really, to me, ultimately talking about is what's the carrying capacity of this community in terms of what water do you have, and at some point, your water supply going to limit you unless we develop new technologies. Your land at some point limits you unless you choose to rezone it and put it in more dense population patterns. What's hard about answering that question is those variables. What you see in a lot of communities along Miami, Broward, Palm Beach, is they are starting to go in and redevelop and create much denser housing. So it starts to actually look even more urban. One of my clients, Corral, has like 16-story towers in their downtown now. Now, those are choices y'all as a city have to make, whether you want that or not. But those choices make it difficult at a technical level to say what the capacity is, because until you know what the policy is going to be, it's hard to say. So, the real question is what it is that you want it to look like. And when you answer that, that starts to put some parameters around how many people can be here and keep it that way. Let me acknowledge, we do live in a property rights state, Burt Harris Act, et cetera. There are a number of constraints y'all have to work within that, So it's a great question, Commissioner. It's just not an easy question to answer. But Mr. Paradise is here, and he might just have the number right off the top of his head.
Madam Commissioner, the website that I was looking at when I was so rude and didn't hear the Vice Mayor, the 2021 population for Deltona is 94,835. Our average age is 36.9, which is right at the national average. By comparison, our next door neighbor, DeBerry, is slightly over 50,000 at this population. And I think many of us can remember when Deltona was an over 50 average population. So those numbers show the complete turnaround that Deltona has experienced in the last 25 years. We have gone from a retirement bedroom community to a young family working community. And our growth rate last year was 1.1%. Over the last 10 years, it was 11%. So we are seeing a steady 1.1% growth rate in our population. So at that rate, in about 5 years, we'll be at 100,000, given nothing else going on.
So my last thing is I ask, do the demographics drive us as a city, or do we as a city drive our demographics and attract our population? I'm just asking from a professional.
Sure.
Because I really don't understand, which is it, the chicken or the egg?
I will certainly defer to your manager or your planner, but I think it's actually both. I've never seen a city in Florida that could set a population number and maintain it. And part of that is the statutory regulations of this state. Having said that, I think you can clearly influence it by your land use regulations, by the type of development you want to occur or allow to occur. If you choose to stay a single-family community or a low-density residential community, you're going to shape that. And at some point, all that land will be vested and have it. And if you choose not to allow that land to be rezoned to some higher density use, then you'll have shaped it. All I want to tell you is that there are other forces here, that don't make that always a simple or easy decision. But I think, ultimately, you can greatly shape the shape of your community. I'll give you an example. I did a project for Longboat Key, which is Barrier Island, Sarasota. And they were starting to get under enormous development pressure. You know, it's oceanfront, and folks wanted to buy the hotels and tear them down and build that. And the residents didn't want that, you know. It wasn't what they wanted. And the visioning slogan became, keep Longboat, Longboat. And they were able to set of policies and stuff in that were able to do a very good job of maintaining. I won't say it's perfect. I won't say some things didn't develop they'd prefer not, but they were able to influence it a lot. So for me, it's a both and. Here, what's happened, I think, particularly if you go to the Gold Coast, Dade to Palm Beach, folks did not have a clear vision of what it is they wanted. And if you don't have a vision of what you want, I'll guarantee you other people have visions of what they want, and they're going to get it. So I think your strongest point is to have a clear vision of what you want and to try to creep your regulations there. I don't want to sit here and say you're going to be perfectly successful all the time. You know, that would be a misstatement for me to say that, and not that you're going to be a lot of under other pressures, you know. Is that somewhat responsive to your question?
Somewhat.
Okay.
And I would just add to that, a state like Florida, with the influx of the amount of people that we have coming into here, has continual infrastructure challenges. As you touched on before, you have roads, you have water challenges, and population challenges. And with that is a need for regulation. And although we live in a state where we choose not to have a lot of regulation that comes down from Tallahassee, in the greater scope of infrastructure, they have little things they like to control, but they have done a good job over time in addressing our water needs and sustainability needs for this state, because I think even they realize that if we don't have those things, we're not going to sustain as a state with the amount of population that comes here. And what I'm leading to is when you have a community like Deltona that's not cut off, for example, like Daytona, South Daytona, what is it, 1 square mile, 2 square miles, something like that, and you're boxed in. When you have a city like this that has a lot of single-family homes and a lot of waterways, as Jerry presented to us, we have a lot of eco items that we need to discuss. You are going to find over the years that I've been in here and have been involved with water that you have a lot of regulations that come down from the state, and you're going to find that those regulations become tighter and tighter, and they are going to become more and more costly. So to your point about things that drive how you want to mold your community, it's an ideological aspect, and it is a land aspect, but it is also a financial aspect. And you have to look at that as to what's coming down here from the state for what we are responsible for. Case in point, the Lake Monroe withdrawal project to the tune of $11 million. So when you look at what you want your community to be, to me, you have to look at every single aspect, and not only that, you have to look at your sustainability for not 5 years or 2 years or 5, it has to be 10, 20, 30 years. And what mandates are we gonna have to keep the quality of life, to keep our water, to keep our lakes clean, to keep that ecotourism going that we're looking at doing. So I'm going to assume that that's also going to be part of the discussion of what we're mandated to do and spend, and what the reality is for our infrastructure.
Sure, and when I say, I mean, that's why, to your earlier point, we have to understand the boundaries, the box we're working in, and to what degree you can influence that box. You want to do it. To what degree it just becomes you just got to smile and say thank you, state legislature, for that unfunded mandate. I mean, that's the unfortunate balancing act you folks have. You're not all powerful in that sense. There are a lot of other actors, and the best you can have is clear what you want to do, and then you work toward it. So.
Can I just stop you right there? It's 7:30, and normally we do 2 hours. So how much do you think longer? Our commissioners, are you good to extend until he's done? Are we okay, Commissioner King? What about how long do you think?
I need about 2 minutes.
Oh, so wow.
I'll get you out of here.
Carry on.
All right.
Commissioner King?
That doesn't mean you want more than 2 minutes, but all I need is 2 minutes. The last theme here I want to talk about, I won't go to it, but it's efficient and effective government. We always want that, of course. what we need to talk about is how you get there. Part of that is roles, what your role is, internally, what your role is out with all the other actors you need to deal with. Stability is important. Fiscal stability we've got to look at in this process, other levels of it. How you listen to the whole community. I talked about needs, aspirations, and values. What you want to do is have systems that ensure you're hearing from the broad set of folks. There are folks who are very active and concerned as citizens. They come up. That's great. A lot of other folks don't do that. You know, they either don't have the time or the energy or the whatever. So you want to reach out to ensure you're hearing from everybody. One of the things, you know, I'll talk particularly with Camille about is the level of service budgeting and how you do that. And she mentioned succession planning earlier. Let me just talk to you quickly about the schedule. Tonight, we're having our initial conversation. I'm going to start writing up some of this stuff. I'll be sending it to you. I'll be calling you, asking you to tell me what you think, what I missed, what you like, et cetera. You know, this is very much an iterative process of us working together to get all your thoughts and and then start to defining the common ground among you to build that. We'll have our next discussion on March 22nd, and you'll have kind of a first draft of a plan then to talk about. I'll do revisions ad nauseum. We'll have another discussion in April, and then I'll do a staff workshop. So that's the overall schedule. Between those meetings, there's a lot of interaction with you, but that's the format. So, Mayor, I'm done.
Okay, commissioners, any other questions?
Madam Mayor, if I can just throw one thing in to kind of go to Ms. McCool and Ms. Abaya Vasquez. City of Deltona is the 27th largest city in the state of Florida. Okay,
We're almost to the 25th when we get an extra. Yep.
Well, according to the latest number, we're 27.
That's great.
To put it in perspective for you, if you drew a line from Palm Bay to the south to Orlando, up to Gainesville and to Jacksonville, we are the largest city in that area. That is a significant part of the state of Florida. So, you know, I think that's important to realize. What's even more amazing is with that population, we are so significantly on septic. One of the things that concerns all of us as we go forward is the age of the septic systems we have. You know, we're going to need to be prepared for the occurrence. And I'm not going to suggest that we public sewer the area. We just need to have a plan in place for people to be able to replace their septic systems, because that's going to be an issue going down the line because of the Blue Springs Basin. So I just want to give you all a little bit of that information because I looked that up a couple months ago and I was rather surprised. I knew we were large. You know, almost all of the 27 are south of here, just a few north of us. And so when you look at it, like I just told you, from Jacksonville, Gainesville, Orlando to Palm Bay, that's a very large part of the state of Florida. So.
Okay, Commissioner Sosa and then Commissioner Vasquez, both. Commissioner Sosa?
Yeah, actually, my questions are for Camille, going back to the budget. My first one is for the tax rolls. You said that it's 85% residential, 15% commercial, but with Amazon coming on this year, that should change. I thought Amazon had their taxes abated for the first 3 years at 100%, and then wasn't it 80% for the next two? So they really won't impact this budget, is that correct?
Well, they will appear on the tax roll because the abatement is going to be coming from the city, not from the tax collector or from the property appraiser. So they finished the construction last September, so it would have been January 1st of this year, the property appraiser will go out and assess them, they'll get a tax bill, and then my understanding is that the city was going to refund that portion that's going to be abated. The county's not doing that, we are.
So basically, it's a wash for us, so it shouldn't really, we shouldn't see a difference. We're refunding whatever they're paying, correct?
Yes, but what I was looking at was the percentage of residential, because we've always been in the high 80s. I still think we'll be over 80 even when Amazon comes on the tax rolls. I was just pointing out that we're still residential. We're still just very dependent on residential taxes.
But that'll be in another 5 years before they actually make a an impact to the tax rolls.
No, they'll be on the tax rolls because they're going to get assessed a tax and then we're going to refund what they pay.
So it's a wash, so it'll be 5 years before we actually see anything.
Before we see any collections from them, yes. I'm just talking about in terms of the percentage of residential versus non-residential property. That's the only thing I was getting at, not the amount of taxes being collected.
Okay. And, yeah, I still see it as a wash and it's a zero, so, but going to the utility bond refunding, I wanted to know, did we ever come up with a total cost of what the $69 million would have cost us long-term if we'd went to 2039, and what the $20 million would have cost us going to 2044, as opposed to what it actually cost us for the 2050 bond at the end? I mean, how much is that bond actually going to cost us now to, for the refinancing of 11 years for the one bond and 6 years for the other bond? What is the actual total end ticket for that?
It's on one of the schedules, which I'm not holding with me right now, but they do we did the amortization schedule, and you can see the difference versus the current. But it's also providing present value savings in cash. But I can get that for you.
Okay, thank you.
You good, Commissioner? Okay, Commissioner Vasquez?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that when I mentioned water plus sewer, I was referring for businesses, not residential. So I don't want to start, thinking that I was insinuating sewer for residents. My comment was about to bring in businesses.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
That is a tough one because that was a big discussion, as Commissioner Vasquez mentioned, is that as soon as you say, hey, we're going to be forcing sewer on residents, but at the same time, we do have residents that are hitting that 15, 20-year mark on their septics, and they can't afford $10,000, $15,000 to replace that septic. So on the flip side, the individuals who have, because they have new parameters in place that they have to fall to change the septic. So there is a couple surrounding cities that I'm aware of that have a fund that they've put aside, or they have so much going into so that individuals can voluntarily go over. I don't know if that's something that, I think we've talked about it before. I don't know necessarily that it's been done, but I would like to explore that possibility because we do have individuals, I talked to one on Saxon and they're on septic, and they would do more than anything that they possibly could to be switched over. So I would like to see, have us explore that opportunity on what we can do to assist individuals who want to voluntarily, roll over to the sewer system.
Okay, Mr. Peters? Okay, any members of the public wanting to speak?
Albert Bryan, please.
Good evening. Albert Bryan, Deltona. I have to admit, this was actually an interesting conversation tonight, especially the first half. I enjoyed the first half. That was kind of cool. All that being said, strategic planning. One thing you got to remember that most of your strategic planning should be more for commercial than residential. Because your residential, you've already done that last year. How many we've okayed, what, 2,500, 3,500? All 40 by 100 lots? Kind of squish them in like sardines. That's a good thing, Bring in more revenue for you for their sewer and water. I get that, that's cool. But you got to remember that commercial is going to be based where? Oh, that's right, in Anita's little area up there. And remember, that's county water, county sewer. It doesn't affect really Deltona that much as far as that's concerned. Now, on the other end, down by Howland, that might. On the other end of Howland, that might actually help some. But how much is that actually commercial? Not near as much up on the other end. Okay, let's just get that straight. Okay, now, as far as really strategic planning, it ain't really that hard to do in Deltona, especially when you consider that 90% of your land is already built. The other thing I'm really looking forward to this year is the budget. I think this is going to be a fun year for the budget. Y'all have a good night.
Okay, I just want to say I'm so excited about the strategic planning. I was excited about it when we did it the first time, and I'm just so excited to see where we go with this. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ramos, you had a time-sensitive issue that you wanted to bring up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I brought this up to Mr. Peters in reference to Senate Bill 62, which is related to deauthorization of Regional Planning Council. This was brought up in our TPO Executive Board meeting, and they have written a letter, and there are a few cities as well that are putting a resolution together opposing Senate Bill 62. My understanding is it still does not have someone on the House side, but I just wanted to see if the dais would be I guess in consensus to draft a resolution opposing Bill 62, which is concern is that it will result in the loss of neutral platform and qualified technical staff to address issues involve multiple public agencies across the region. My understanding, I think Delana already passed one. So I just, I brought it to Mr. Peters. Mr. Peters asked if I can bring it now, and I'm just trying to see if we can have consensus for a resolution opposing Senate Bill 62.
Mr. Peters, do you want to just weigh in on that to clarify, please?
Well, we have two choices. You could give it the authorization at staff level to draft a resolution for the mayor's signature, or you can authorize me to send a letter on behalf of the commission. Either way you want to do this.
Commissioners, are you interested in doing that? Basically, it's abolishing the MPOs, which is the regional planning organizations or the metropolitan planning organizations. And I can say that the Volusia League of Cities, the executive board is going to go ahead and send out a resolution against that bill. And I believe the Florida League of Cities as well, simply because it wants to abolish that particular organization, which is unity with multiple regions and agencies.
And again, it's one of those other things coming from the state trying to kind of like cross the boundaries of what is that, home rule?
Home rule and municipalities. Mm-hmm. So commissioners, do you have, are you interested in having a staff write a resolution that either comes before us at the next meeting or that is internally done? Commissioner Sosa?
Yeah, at this time, I'm going to refrain from doing anything until I actually read the Senate bill myself. I haven't read this one, so until I actually read it, I'm going to withhold from wanting to send anything to the state.
Okay, so you want to wait until you take a look at it, Commissioner Vasquez?
Is this what Marie put out there?
The what?
Marie, that's her name, Marie, our legislator, not the our.
Oh, Mariah. Yes.
Is that her name? Mariah?
Yeah, Mariah Raines from.
Yeah, that's the one she put out there.
Yeah, that's one of them she sent out, yes.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the having Mr. Peters or either, whichever one is best to do. I don't have a problem with it.
All right, any other comments?
Sikkim.
Yes. Commissioner King, do you have a comment on that?
Write it up. I mean, I've read it from her.
I guess I'm just, I mean, if we decide to, they could always write it up and it gives us time, but I guess just because of the timing of it, I guess it would be nice to see whether or not we would want Mr. Peters to put a resolution together, gives us time to read it, and then come next commission meeting, we can vote for it and then move on that.
May I ask a question? Does everybody up at the dais receive her emails?
I don't know. They're sent out from the Volusia League of Cities. Mariah Raines has a list of anyone's email address through that organization.
I get them, so.
But I think, Mr. Peters, if you give those, Commissioner Sosa and Commissioner King and everyone a chance to look at that bill and understand it, and if you would like to even have, send out a quick synopsis of how it would affect us and what it means for the region, and draft something, it can be voted up or down at the next commission meeting. Is that okay, gentlemen?
Yes.
Is that okay, Commissioner Sosa? Is that good with you, Commissioner Ramos? And that way, and the reason we brought it up tonight, Commissioner Ramos had mentioned it, that he spoke to Mr. Peters, is that we can get this on the agenda for next week. Okay?
I will have that ready tomorrow.
Okay, and if just a synopsis in an email for everyone, or a copy of the bill would be great if you don't get that, okay? Commissioner Sosa, did you have another question, or are you still on the board? You're good? Okay, thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.
Madam Mayor?
Yes. Yes, sorry.
Starting tomorrow, we're starting to disconnect on the water, so you may be getting some phone calls. We have another set of circumstances that's occurred. The manager of our customer service in Deltona Water had tendered her resignation. So I spoke to Dr. Cooper earlier this afternoon, giving his background in customer service. I'm going to ask him to help out over there for the short term while we get through these disconnects over the next couple of months.
Thank you, sir. We are adjourned. Again.